All right, good. Let's see what day it is. Wednesday evening, mid-Michigan. Chief Meteorologist Chris Easlick coming to you from the social media update desk with tonight's weather chat. Had to mute the TV in front of me really quick. And I forgot what day it was, but that's what happens when you've got a 9-month-old at home and a 4-year-old who has all the energy in the world. I'm sure many parents, if you're watching, can relate to that. But did want to give a quick update here as we go through tonight and take a look at what is ahead, not only for what appears to be a pretty nice weekend, but also the potential as we go into next week for what appears to be a pattern change where things look like they'll have the potential to be quite a bit cooler. So let's take a look at our forecast for tonight. There's not much going on. We've got a little area of high cloud coverage that is passing its way through, but there's a brief period of clearing that is settling in behind that that is going to give us a chance to drop back into the 20s tonight. And so it will be a chilly start to the day tomorrow, but we will eventually get up to about the 40s again tomorrow. It might be a little bit later in the day than what we have been typically seeing. But I do think tomorrow is going to be a little bit closer to average, maybe even a little bit above for parts of mid-Michigan. So just a quick run through of your hour-by-hour forecast, then we'll look towards the weekend. We'll do that also with our hunting forecast for those of you who might be headed out to the woods. And then we'll take a look quickly at next week. If you have any questions along the way, we are getting more people joining now. That I've sent the push alert out. So if you have any questions along the way, feel free to tell me. And we'll probably make this a quick stream tonight, but I'll look for questions after, as I typically do. All right, so your hour-by-hour forecast into tonight shows that tomorrow is going to be much more gray. So we've got clear skies, at least in areas tonight, but everything should fill back in with cloud cover by the time we get to tomorrow afternoon. Looking at upper 30s to low 40s roughly by about lunchtime or so. More 40s by the time 3:30 comes around, and then you'll notice we stay pretty mild even going towards 8 o'clock tomorrow night. So again, some of these temperatures a little bit later in the day may be a bit warmer tomorrow night than they have been. And then as we go towards Friday morning, you see these little areas of precipitation right here. There may be a few light showers that try to come through. There might be a few areas of drizzle overnight Thursday into Friday morning, but this looks like a system that's really fallen apart over the last several days. It's not as impressive as perhaps it looked even going back into last weekend. So I would expect to get through this event mostly dry or just very minor precipitation, maybe a bit of drizzle. And then as we head through Friday itself, looks like our skies clear a bit, and we may actually have a pretty nice Friday afternoon ahead of us where we get temperatures that are in the 50s. Now, those warm temperatures are likely going to continue into this weekend. So this is your hunting forecast the next couple of days, but it also looks like we've got Saturday starting to show up on that. And Saturday looks partly to mostly sunny. And our high temperature there is 43. We try to get sort of an average with some of our numbers here on the 7-day. I do think there's areas that could be a little bit warmer than that with all the sunshine on Saturday. We do have light and variable winds going into the start of the weekend too. I would say the wind Thursday and Friday, the next couple of days, probably a bit more breezy than what you have been used to the last couple of days. We've actually gotten a bit of a break from the wind, which has been pretty nice. But as we go towards Thursday and Friday, I think it picks up to about 5 to 15 both days, maybe gusting to about 20 miles per hour tomorrow, and then just dies back down as we head into the weekend. But after the weekend, Sunday is actually expected to be back towards 50 degrees. I know Sunday gets cut off here for the next couple of days, but by Sunday, I think we're in the low to mid 50s, and then going into Monday of next week, roughly about 40 or so, or excuse me, roughly about 50. And then that's when we start to see the cool down going into next week. So it starts with our upper level temperatures. So let me fast forward to about Wednesday of next week. And you see some of these purple shades that are right here that are starting to spill out from Canada. This area right here, and you'll notice when we start getting into those colors, that's when we're getting towards that left side of the legend there, towards the cold temperatures. We're not quite to where we would be if we were going to have a bitterly cold outbreak, say in late December, early January, or even into February. But it is showing that we are starting to get to that time of year a little bit more consistently now. And I know some of you might be saying, well, there's pink over here on the warm side. I promise you it's not the warm side of that legend. So we are expecting that to spill a little bit southward going into Wednesday and even more so on Thursday. I think Wednesday itself, not too bad at this time. We'll see how everything kind of pans out as we go in towards next week. But I think Wednesday is going to be in the 40s. That might be the last day, at least for the next couple after that, that is going to be in the 40s. So I think you're going to start to get some cooler air that settles in towards Thursday of next week. And if we take a look at some of the raw temperature data going into next week, you'll see the cool down that starts. So by 2 o'clock on Wednesday, this is next Wednesday, we're talking about temperatures that are, again, I think in the 40s. But as we go into Thursday, we'll go towards the afternoon hours. We're only about the lower to middle 30s by Thanksgiving of next week. And so that's going to be a bit of a change of pace. We've had some days in the 30s, but it's going to be something that after a few days in the 50s, potentially for some of us over the weekend and early next week, going back down to the 30s is going to be a bit of a change. And thankfully, it doesn't seem like the wind chill is going to be as much of a factor going into next week. So if we fast forward here, let me just fast forward to 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday or 1 o'clock. We're in the upper 20s to low 30s. So when you've got actual temperatures that are about the mid 30s, that's not that big of a difference. That's not that big of a deal. We're not in the teens or anything like that. But there's at least a little bit of bite to the air. But what we're concerned about, of course, next week, whether you're meteorologists or whether you're just somebody who's traveling for the holiday, you want to know about wet weather. So I'm going to show you two things here. I'll show you the European model and I'll show you the GFS model, which is the American model. And so you've got this cooler air moving in next week, and I think there is potential that things could be unsettled. I think our chance for rain next week comes in on Tuesday. Feeling fairly confident that Tuesday of next week, at least at some point in the day, is going to be wet. I think there are certain timing differences that could mean, hey, maybe we get through the morning dry and maybe the afternoon and evening are wet, or this could be more of a rain chance all day kind of thing. But I think Tuesday is that day where our forecast information has been fairly consistent up to this point and showing something in the area of mid-Michigan on Tuesday. This shows rain. The American model, which I'll show you next, also shows rain. That is fairly consistent. That is not going to change. But if we go through Wednesday, this model right here, pretty dry on Wednesday, maybe some lake effect going to the north on Wednesday afternoon as that cold air starts to settle in. And as we go further in time with this European model here, the cold air really starts to settle down into the state, and we start to kick up the lake effect snow. And with the water temperatures where they are, even a little bit of cold air is likely going to be enough to really kick that system into high gear. Now, lake effect snow, of course, for us in the TV5 viewing area, we have some of our traditional lake effect spots that do get lake effect snow, but we're not necessarily going to feel that like the west side of the state. And the big question is this what it's going to look like? You should take any information like this just as more of a general trend and not so much specific information. I think we can feel very confident that next week is cooler on Thursday and possibly beyond. And I think it will turn a little bit more unsettled. But as far as the specifics, I think we need to be careful with that. And I'll show you why. So this model has lake effect going into Thursday night and also into Friday. This model, the GFS, is a little bit different. So the similarities, if I fast forward to Tuesday, this one also shows rain. So we've got confidence that Tuesday will have a chance for rain. And they're both showing rain and not winter precipitation. So those are a couple of things we feel pretty good about. But as you go towards Wednesday of next week, it's dry just like the other one is, but doesn't quite kick up the lake effect. Okay, let's go a little bit further. The GFS also isn't kicking up the lake effect like the European model is on Thursday. There's also been some models that have been having a more organized system coming through at times next week. So the bottom line in all of this is we have ideas of what the forecast could be next week, but as far as the specific information, that is something that still needs to come into focus. And I think you'll start getting a better idea of that when it comes to your travel plans, probably by late in the weekend and also early next week. I think even maybe by Saturday, we'll start to see a little bit more consistency. I wouldn't guarantee it, but I think we'll start working our way in that direction. But I would say by Sunday night and Monday is when, if you're traveling on Wednesday, you're probably going to get a better idea of things coming into focus a little bit more. But as far as this point out in time, we can give you the fact that it's going to be cooler towards the end of next week and perhaps unsettled. But just be careful with some of the information you might be seeing kind of floating around there on social media. There are good social media pages that aren't just us, that handle things in a responsible way. So this is not for all social media pages. I want to make that clear. But there's also a lot of nonsense that is going around saying specific snowfall totals, saying specific locations for snowfall. And we don't even know if it's going to snow yet. So I think that's a big question. Now, if you were to ask me between these two solutions, the American, which doesn't show much lake effect snow at all, versus the Euro that does show lake effect snow, even without talking about amounts, which one do I think is the more likely scenario? Well, if we're going to cool down, and assuming the wind direction is right, I would probably side more towards the unsettled solution of the European model, just because of how warm our Great Lakes are. We've already had, even though it's not affected us here in mid-Michigan every time, we've already had several days of lake effect precipitation as we've gone through the last month, maybe even a little bit longer. Sometimes it's been rain, but the northwest part of the state has had plenty of lake effect up to this point. And we had our lake effect just a couple of weekends ago. It wasn't for everybody, but we got, I think, about 6 inches of snow in Freeland on Sunday. And then the following day, Bad Axe and Ubly and other parts of the Thumb got hit pretty hard too. So I would say the lakes are open for business. So if I were to pick a solution right now, and there's still, again, a lot of time where this data can change my mind, but I would say because the lakes are relatively warmer for this time of year, and we are expecting some of that cold air to filter in from Canada, I would lean more towards something unsettled on Thursday. But again, what degree are we going to be unsettled? Are we going to get a few lake effect snow showers near the lake and not much else? Or are we going to get a pretty persistent lake effect pattern? I think those are the questions that we're going to have to sort out. Or if we get closer to that event next week and temperatures aren't quite as cold as they're being projected now, well, maybe the American model is onto something. So I threw a lot at you, but long story short is stay tuned to next week. Plan on it getting colder. That, I think, is something that we can feel really good about towards Thanksgiving, is it will get colder than what it will be this weekend and early next week. The precipitation aspect to all of that, I think, is a little bit more uncertain. So I'll just go through the comments here, and if there's not much, we'll take a quick look at the 7-day, and that's pretty much all I've got for tonight. Trying to figure out a few more interviews that we can do. Like we had meteorologist Kyle Gillette, who was a former TV5 meteorologist. He came on with us and we talked about the Edmund Fitzgerald for about 45 minutes, which was a really great conversation with Kyle. Always good to see him. But if there's anyone else that anyone could think of, I'm open to ideas. Let's see. Mary says, thanks for posting the updates. I really appreciate it. No problem, Mary. I do know we've got some loyal viewers on this every single night, so I appreciate all of you. Sherry, looks like you're on, as usual. Yep, there you are, Sherry. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it, of course. Let's see. Yeah, there's definitely plenty of you that are on every single night. We always appreciate that. So we're going to do that as much as possible. Hopefully start to brainstorm, again, some different ideas to make this more than just a weather update every night, because I think interviews are good. But yeah, not seeing many new comments now, so we'll end the stream. That way it's not too long when anyone wants to watch this back. But here's the quick 7-day going into next week. Tuesday, again, the most likely day for precipitation. Looks like we'll have a chance for just rain on Tuesday, a few showers into Wednesday. Maybe we see some lake effects kind of develop Wednesday night where we change over to snow as we cool down. A little too early to say how quickly that would happen, but right now weekend looks great. If you've got plans, you want to get those Christmas lights up, anything like that. Holidays in the heart of the city this weekend in Saginaw. We've got the tree lighting on Friday. We've got the Christmas parade on Saturday. I know the Midland parade is happening towards the end of this week too. So plenty of good weather for all of those events. But we'll take a look at those tomorrow night or even on Friday and preview all of that. Until next time, we will see you later.